Captain William Hayes stared at the emergency transmission flashing on his screen. His hands trembled slightly as he pressed the button to play it. The holographic image of Admiral Gary Miller appeared, his face grim. "Captain Hayes, our deep space sensors have detected an alien fleet approaching our solar system. They will reach Mars orbit in approximately 72 hours. This is not a drill." William took a deep breath. Humanity had developed faster than light travel only 5 years ago, but they had chosen to explore cautiously, watching the galaxy from afar. Now, it seemed, the galaxy had found them. "Assemble the emergency council," William ordered his communications officer, Mary Johnson, "and get me Dr. White on the line immediately." 30 minutes later, the conference room of the Earth Defense Force headquarters was filled with military officers and scientific experts. Dr. Susan White, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stood at the front of the room displaying images of the approaching vessels. "Their design matches nothing in our database," she explained, "but their formation suggests intelligence and organization. This is definitely a first contact situation." Admiral Miller nodded. "The question is whether it's a friendly one." Earth's leaders debated for hours. Some wanted to prepare for immediate conflict, while others argued for a diplomatic approach. In the end, they decided to send a small delegation to meet the aliens at the edge of the solar system, near the orbit of Neptune. Dr. White volunteered to lead the diplomatic team. "Are you sure about this, Susan?" William asked as they prepared the diplomatic vessel, the EDS Harmony. Susan smiled. "I've spent my entire career preparing for this moment, Will. I'm not going to hide in a bunker when the aliens finally arrive." The Harmony departed Earth with a crew of 20 diplomats, scientists, and a small security detail. Captain John Foster, an experienced space pilot, guided the ship toward the meeting point. Lieutenant Alan Rogers supervised the security team, making sure their weapons were ready but hidden. As they approached Neptune's orbit, they saw the alien ships clearly for the first time. Massive structures of gleaming metal, shaped like arrowheads with glowing blue engines. "They're beautiful," Susan whispered. The largest alien vessel transmitted a message in a strange language. Earth's most advanced computers worked to decipher it, eventually producing a translation. "We are the Arcturian Empire. Lower your defenses and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Susan frowned. That's not how first contact protocols usually begin. She transmitted a carefully worded greeting, explaining that humans came in peace and wished to establish friendly relations. The aliens responded with silence. Then, without warning, energy beams shot from the largest Arcturian ship, striking the Harmony's engines. The diplomatic vessel shuddered violently. "They're attacking us," Captain Foster shouted, trying to maneuver away. "Shields at 30%. Lieutenant Rogers ordered his security team to battle stations, but they were hopelessly outmatched. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth," Susan ordered. "Tell them what's happening." The Harmony's communication officer managed to send one brief message before another blast hit them. The ship's systems failed one by one as the Arcturian vessel moved alongside them. "They're boarding us," Rogers reported, distributing weapons to the crew. "Everyone prepare for." The doors to the bridge burst open. Tall, gray-skinned aliens with 4 arms entered, pointing strange devices at the humans. Their faces had no mouths, only vertical slits where noses would be on a human. The lead alien approached Susan, studying her with large, pupilless eyes. "Primitive beings," a mechanical voice translated. "You will be studied." The security team tried to fight back, but strange energy fields immobilized them. Susan watched in horror as her colleagues were dragged away one by one. In the chaos, Lieutenant Rogers managed to reach an escape pod. As the last conscious human on the bridge, Susan activated the ship's self-destruct sequence and shoved Rogers toward the pod. "Tell Earth what happened here," she whispered. "Go." The escape pod launched just as the aliens reached Susan. As they grabbed her, she saw the pod disappearing into the blackness of space, carrying the only warning Earth would receive. Lieutenant Rogers watched through the pod's viewport as the Harmony exploded, damaging the alien vessel. Then he set course for Earth, carrying the terrible news of humanity's first contact. Lieutenant Alan Rogers woke up in a medical bay on Earth. His escape pod had been found drifting near Mars. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his body. "Easy there," said a nurse. "You've been through a lot." Admiral Gary Miller entered the room with Captain William Hayes close behind. Their faces showed a mix of concern and determination. "Lieutenant," Admiral Miller said, "we need to know everything that happened out there." Alan told them about the attack, the capture of Dr. White and the others, and how Susan had helped him escape with the warning. As he spoke, William's hands clenched into fists. "Did you get coordinates?" William asked. "Any idea where these Arcturians come from?" Alan nodded. "Dr. White managed to download their star charts to my pod before she pushed me out. She was always thinking ahead." Admiral Miller called an emergency meeting of the Earth Defense Alliance. Representatives from every nation gathered in the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Ladies and gentlemen," Miller began, "we faced the greatest threat in human history. An alien empire has attacked our diplomatic mission and taken our people prisoner." Screens around the room showed images of the Arcturian ships. People gasped and whispered to each other. "What chance do we have against such advanced technology?" asked one representative. Admiral Miller nodded to a woman sitting quietly in a corner. For that answer, I turned to Admiral Diane Clark. Admiral Clark stood up. She was in her 60s with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Better than they think we do," she said. She pressed a button, and the screens changed to show massive underground facilities built into asteroids and moons throughout the solar system. "For the past 70 years, Earth has been preparing for this moment," Clark explained. "After the Roswell incident in 1947, world governments realized we were not alone. We formed a secret alliance to develop technology that could defend Earth." The screen showed ships unlike anything the public had ever seen, with weapons systems that looked far beyond current technology. "This is Project Nemesis," Clark continued. 300 warships hidden throughout the solar system. We've been reverse engineering alien technology from crashed ships and signals. The Arcturians think we're primitive, but we have a few surprises for them. Dr. Joseph Martinez, a scientist with thick glasses and nervous hands, stepped forward. "We've studied alien technology for decades. Their shield frequencies, their propulsion systems, even their communication methods. We know their weaknesses." The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. "But we need to act fast," William said. "Dr. White and the others won't survive long if these aliens really are studying them." The Alliance voted unanimously to prepare for war. Within hours, ships began emerging from hidden bases on the Moon, Mars, and the asteroid belt. Crews that had trained in secret for years boarded their vessels and prepared for battle. William was promoted to fleet commander and given command of the flagship, the EDS Retribution. As he stood on the bridge for the first time, Lieutenant Rogers joined him, now recovered from his injuries. "I requested to be assigned to your ship, sir," Alan said, "for Dr. White and the others." William nodded. "We'll get them back, Lieutenant." The Retribution was massive, nearly a mile long, with weapons that could destroy a small moon. As William toured the ship, Admiral Clark explained its capabilities. "Our FTL drive is based on technology we discovered in Antarctica," she said. "It will allow us to reach Arcturian space without detection. Our shields can withstand their energy weapons, and our own weapons are designed specifically to penetrate their defenses." William looked out at the fleet assembling around them, ships of all sizes and shapes, each with its own specialized purpose. "How long have we been preparing for this?" he asked. "Since the first radio signals from space reached Earth," Clark answered. "We always knew this day might come. We hoped for peace, but we prepared for war." The fleet moved into formation, ready to depart the solar system. On the bridge of the Retribution, William gave the order. All ships, prepare for FTL jump. We're going to show the Arcturian Empire exactly what humans are capable of. Dr. Susan White woke up in a clear cell. The walls looked like glass, but felt stronger than steel when she touched them. Across from her cell, she could see other humans in similar containers. Some were still unconscious. A tall Arcturian approached her cell. It wore a white covering over its gray skin and carried a device that looked like a tablet. "You are awake," said a mechanical voice from the device. "Good. We have questions." Susan stood up straight. "So do I. Why did you attack our ship?" "We came in peace." The Arcturian's vertical nose slits flared. "Peace is irrelevant. You are primitive species. You serve Arcturian Empire now. Through study or through labor. You might find we're not as primitive as you think," Susan said. The Arcturian, who called himself High Examiner Zexkra, took Susan to a laboratory. Other Arcturian scientists were studying samples of human blood and tissue. "Your biology is unusual," Zexkra said. "You adapt quickly to pain, to stress. Arcturians do not adapt this way." Susan watched carefully as they worked. She noticed how they used their equipment, how their security systems functioned. Despite being a prisoner, her scientific mind was collecting data. Over the next few days, she was subjected to various tests. They measured her strength, her endurance, her brain activity. The Arcturians seemed particularly interested in how humans responded to stress. In her cell at night, Susan made mental notes of everything she saw: the guard patterns, the layout of the facility, the technology they used. She began to form a plan. One day, while being escorted back to her cell, she noticed an unattended communication terminal. The guard was distracted by another prisoner who had collapsed. In a split second, Susan made her decision. She lunged for the terminal and quickly pressed the symbols she had memorized from watching the guards. It was a basic communication system, and she had learned more of their language than they realized. Using a simple code that Earth's computers would recognize, she sent a brief message with the coordinates of the facility and information about Arcturian defenses. She was dragged away from the terminal seconds later, but the message had been sent. "What did you do?" the guard demanded, striking her across the face. "Prove to point," Susan said, spitting blood. Back in her cell, Susan smiled despite her new bruises. The Arcturians didn't realize that humans had been studying alien communication methods for decades. Her message would reach Earth. In another part of the facility, High Examiner Zexkray was speaking with Emperor Krastor via hologram. "The humans are stronger than we thought," Zexkray reported. "Their bodies heal quickly. Their minds resist our scanning technology." "They are still primitives," the Emperor said dismissively. "Their ships barely reached the edge of their own system. With respect, Emperor, I believe we should study them further before underestimating them. There is something unusual about these beings." "Your concerns are noted, Examiner. Continue your work." After the communication ended, Zexkray reviewed the test results again. The humans showed remarkable adaptation to the Arcturian atmosphere. Their brain patterns changed and adjusted when faced with new challenges. Most concerning of all, they seemed to be learning and observing even while being studied. In her cell, Susan was teaching the other prisoners what she had learned. Dr. Kevin Wright, a linguist who had been on the diplomatic mission, was particularly good at picking up the Arcturian language. "If we can communicate with them directly, without their translation devices, we might be able to confuse them," Kevin suggested. Susan nodded. "And I think I've figured out how their cell locks work. They use a biometric system keyed to Arcturian physiology." Another prisoner, Engineer Paul Bennett, grinned. "Give me enough time, and I can bypass that." The captured humans began working together, sharing information, forming plans. They might be prisoners, but they were far from defeated. And unknown to the Arcturians, Susan's message was already speeding through space, carrying vital information that would help the human fleet that was coming for them. The massive human fleet moved through space, hidden from detection by technology that bent light around their ships. On the bridge of the EDS Retribution, Fleet Commander William Hayes studied the star map showing their progress toward Arcturian space. 3 more days until we reach their home system, William said to Lieutenant Alan Rogers, who stood beside him. The crew is ready, Alan replied. Everyone knows what's at stake. The Retribution was the largest warship ever built by human hands. Its hull was made of materials developed from crashed alien ships found on Earth over the centuries. Its weapons systems could destroy entire planets if necessary, though William hoped it wouldn't come to that. Admiral Diane Clark entered the bridge, her uniform crisp despite the long journey. "We've decoded more of Dr. White's message," she said. "She managed to send us detailed information about the Arcturian defense grid. Their main weakness is in their sensor arrays. They only scan for certain energy signatures, and we can avoid those." William nodded. "Any word on where they're holding our people?" "A research facility on the second moon of their home planet." Susan included the exact coordinates. The 3 officers moved to the tactical room, where a holographic display showed the Arcturian home system. 5 planets orbited a blue star, with the 3rd planet being the Arcturian homeworld. It was surrounded by defense platforms and a large fleet of ships. "Their military is spread thin across their empire," Admiral Clark explained. "Most of their forces are maintaining control over subject species. We estimate only 30% of their fleet is actually at their home system." William studied the display. Even 30% of their fleet is hundreds of ships. "But none as advanced as ours," Alan pointed out. "Our weapons were designed specifically to target their weaknesses." Throughout the ship, crews prepared for battle. Engineers checked the engines and weapon systems. Medical teams readied their equipment for potential casualties. Soldiers practiced their boarding drills, preparing to rescue the human prisoners. In the hangar bay, Major Lisa Bennett led her Special Forces team through one final rehearsal of their rescue mission. They would be the ones to infiltrate the Arcturian research facility and extract Dr. White and the other prisoners. "Remember, we go in fast and quiet," Lisa told her team. "The Arcturians have never faced human soldiers before. They won't know what to expect." Her soldiers wore advanced combat suits that enhanced their strength and speed. Their weapons were designed to disable Arcturian technology and defenses. Back on the bridge, William received a transmission from Dr. Joseph Martinez, who was aboard another ship in the fleet. "Commander, we've analyzed more of the Arcturian communication signals that Dr. White included in her message," Joseph said, his face serious on the screen. "They're planning to transport the human prisoners to their central world soon. We need to move quickly." William's jaw tightened. "How soon?" "Within the next 5 days. They want their emperor to see the humans personally." William turned to Admiral Clark. "We need to accelerate our timeline. Can the fleet handle faster than light travel at maximum capacity?" Admiral Clark nodded. "The ships can handle it. Some of the crew might get sick, but we'll manage." William made his decision. "Send word to all ships. We're increasing speed. I want to arrive in the Arcturian system within 36 hours." Orders spread throughout the fleet. Engines powered up to levels they had never been tested at before. The human ships surged forward through space, determination driving them faster than seemed possible. In his quarters, William looked at a photo of the original diplomatic team, with Susan White standing proudly at the center. They had gone in peace, only to be met with violence and imprisonment. Now humanity would show the Arcturian Empire what happens when they make enemies of Earth. "We're coming, Susan," William whispered to the photo. "And we're bringing the full might of humanity with us." Emperor Krastor stood on the observation deck of his palace, looking up at the night sky. The stars glittered like jewels, most of them part of his vast empire. The Arcturian Empire had ruled this section of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. No species had ever successfully challenged them. A servant approached and bowed low. "High Examiner Zexcrea requests an audience, Your Majesty." The Emperor nodded. "Send him in." Zexcrea entered, his tall gray form moving with unusual haste. "Emperor, I bring concerning news about the human subjects, the primitives from the edge of the galaxy." Krastor asked with little interest. "What about them?" "They are not what we expected." Zexkra's voice betrayed his worry. "Their physical abilities exceed our initial assessments. They heal quickly. They adapt to our tests. And most concerning, they appear to be learning our technology and language at an alarming rate." The Emperor waved a four-fingered hand dismissively. "They are just animals. Clever animals, perhaps, but nothing more. Your Majesty, with respect, I believe we may have underestimated them." Zexkra projected an image from his datapad. It showed security footage of Dr. Susan White working with another human to decipher Arcturian writing. "They have attempted to access our systems 3 times. The last attempt nearly succeeded." This caught the Emperor's attention. "Impossible. Our systems are too advanced for primitive minds to comprehend. Yet they are learning. And there's more." Zexkra showed another image, this one from a security satellite orbiting the human homeworld. It showed Earth's moon, with strange energy readings coming from the far side. "What am I looking at?" the Emperor asked. "Our scout ship took these images before returning. The humans appear to have constructed something on their moon, something that our sensors cannot fully analyze." For the first time, concern flickered across the Emperor's face. "Could it be a weapon?" "Unknown, Your Majesty, but I recommend we move the human subjects to a more secure facility immediately, and perhaps we should recall some of our fleet to protect the homeworld." The Emperor considered this. "You worry too much, Examiner. But very well. Transfer the humans to the Imperial Research Center on the capital world. I will see these creatures myself." As Zexkra left, General Vexstar entered. The military leader of the Arcturian forces looked troubled. "Your Majesty, we have lost contact with Outpost Station Krell 7 near the human solar system." "Equipment failure," the Emperor suggested. "Possibly. But 3 days ago, we also lost contact with the monitoring station in that same sector." Now the Emperor showed genuine concern. Could the humans have destroyed them? Their technology should not be capable of reaching those stations, let alone destroying them, General Vexstar said. "But I have ordered our nearest patrol fleet to investigate." In the research facility, Dr. Susan White and the other human prisoners were being prepared for transport. Guards fitted them with restraints and herded them toward a shuttle. "Where are they taking us?" Kevin Wright whispered to Susan. "I heard them say something about the capital world." Susan replied quietly. "The Emperor wants to see us." "That could work in our favor," Engineer Paul Bennett murmured. "More chances to gather intelligence." Susan nodded slightly. During her time in captivity, she had learned much about the Arcturian Empire. Their technology was advanced, but their thinking was rigid. They lacked human creativity and adaptability. And most importantly, they were arrogant. They couldn't imagine that humans posed any real threat to them. As the prisoners were loaded onto the transport ship, Susan caught sight of a view screen showing the space around the Arcturian homeworld. She counted the defense platforms and ships in orbit. The information would be valuable to the human fleet when they arrived. And Susan knew they would arrive. Earth would not abandon its people. She just needed to stay alive and keep gathering information until rescue came. What the Arcturians didn't realize was that they had captured not just diplomats, but some of Earth's brightest minds, and every moment of their captivity had been spent studying their enemy, preparing for the day when humanity would strike back. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Arcturian system. 300 warships, their hulls dark against the backdrop of space, moved silently into position. On the bridge of the EDS Retribution, Fleet Commander William Hayes watched as the tactical display showed their target. "All ships maintain stealth protocols," William ordered. "No communications, no active scans." The fleet had arrived 12 hours ahead of schedule thanks to their increased speed. They now had the element of surprise. Lieutenant Alan Rogers monitored the Arcturian defense grid from his station. They have no idea we're here, Alan reported. Their sensor grid is focused outward, looking for conventional engine signatures. William nodded. Perfect. Deploy scout drones. I want detailed scans of their defense platforms and fleet positions. Small, unmanned craft left the human ships, moving through space like silent ghosts. They were based on technology reverse-engineered from alien craft that had crashed on Earth over the centuries. The drones gathered information and returned to the fleet within an hour. Admiral Diane Clark studied the data with William. Their main defense platforms are here, here, and here, she said, pointing to locations on the display. The bulk of their home fleet is in orbit around the capital world. And the prisoners? William asked. According to the latest data from Dr. White, they're being transported to this research facility near the Imperial Palace. Alan said, highlighting a location on the third planet. They should arrive within the next 6 hours. William made his decision. We strike in 3 hours. That gives us time to position our forces and catch them before the prisoners reach the surface. Throughout the fleet, final preparations began. Weapon systems were charged. Strike teams readied their equipment. Every soldier and sailor knew their role in the coming battle. Major Lisa Bennett briefed her Special Forces Team one last time. Our primary mission is to rescue the prisoners, she reminded them. The fleet will handle the Arcturian defenses and create a diversion. We slip in during the chaos, extract our people, and get out. On the Arcturian homeworld, Emperor Krastor was meeting with his war council when a junior officer burst into the room. Your Majesty, our long-range sensors have detected anomalies at the edge of the system. General Vexstar frowned. What kind of anomalies? Unknown, sir. They appeared briefly and then vanished. It could be sensor ghosts, but what? The Emperor demanded. Similar readings were reported by Outpost Krull 7, just before we lost contact with it. The room fell silent. General Vexstar stood up. Deploy the fleet to defensive positions. Activate all defense platforms. I want every ship on alert status. Surely you don't think the humans could have reached our homeworld? The Emperor asked. Their technology is primitive. They barely have space travel. With respect, Your Majesty, we should take no chances, the general replied. Before the Emperor could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the palace. The tactical display at the center of the room flashed red as multiple contacts appeared suddenly near their defensive platforms. Impossible, the Emperor whispered. On the bridge of the Retribution, William gave the order. All ships to cloak and engage targets. Weapons free. The human fleet appeared as if from nowhere, their cloaking technology deactivated. They opened fire immediately, targeting the Arcturian defense platforms with precision strikes. The platforms, designed to withstand conventional weapons, stood no chance against Earth's advanced technology. First wave of defense platforms neutralize, Alan reported as explosions lit up space around them. Arcturian fleet is moving to engage. William opened a channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, execute Battle Plan Alpha. Cruisers, form a perimeter. Destroyers, target their command ships. Assault carriers, launch fighters. The space around the Arcturian homeworld erupted in battle. Human fighters swarmed from carrier ships, targeting the smaller Arcturian vessels. The larger human warships engaged the main Arcturian fleet head-on. From his flagship, William sent a message that was broadcast on all Arcturian frequencies. His face appeared on screens throughout the Arcturian fleet and on the homeworld itself. This is Fleet Commander William Hayes of Earth. You took our people. We have come to take them back. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Krastor watched in horror as the human fleet tore through his defenses like they were made of paper. The Arcturian fleet scrambled to respond to the human attack. Their ships were numerous, but had never faced an enemy with such advanced technology. The human vessels moved with surprising speed and precision, their weapons cutting through Arcturian shields like they weren't even there. General Vexstar shouted orders from his command ship. Focus fire on their largest vessel. All ships, concentrate your attacks. Dozens of Arcturian warships turned their weapons toward the EDS Retribution. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked across space toward the human flagship. Lieutenant Alan Rogers watched the incoming fire on his tactical display. Multiple weapons locked on us, Commander. William remained calm. Activate defensive countermeasures. Shield pattern Delta. The Retribution's advanced shields flared to life, absorbing and deflecting the Arcturian attacks. The technology, developed from studying alien craft that had crashed on Earth, was specifically designed to counter Arcturian weapons. Return fire, William ordered. Target their command ships. The Retribution's main cannons fired, sending pulses of energy that bypassed the Arcturian shields completely. 3 enemy command ships exploded in rapid succession. Across the battlefield, human vessels engaged the Arcturian fleet with similar success. Ships that had been hidden on Earth for decades revealed their true power. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Krastor watched in disbelief. How is this possible? They were supposed to be primitive. High Examiner Zexkra stood nearby, his expression grave. I warned you, Your Majesty. The humans are unlike any species we have encountered before. On the transport ship carrying the human prisoners, Dr. Susan White felt the vessel shake as explosions erupted nearby. The Arcturian guards looked panicked. What's happening? Susan asked one of them. Silence, human. The guard snapped, but fear was evident in his voice. Through the viewport, Susan could see flashes of light in space. She smiled. Earth has come for us. The transport ship's captain received urgent orders to change course, to take the valuable human captives away from the battle. But as they turned, a small human vessel appeared directly in their path. Major Lisa Bennett's voice came over the transport ship's communication system. Arcturian vessel, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning. The Arcturian captain hesitated for just a moment too long. Precision strikes disabled the transport's engines and weapons, leaving it drifting in space. Lisa's team docked with the crippled ship and boarded with swift efficiency. The Arcturian guards, trained to control subject species, had never faced human soldiers in combat. They were overwhelmed within minutes. Lisa found Susan and the other prisoners in the ship's holding area. Dr. White. I'm Major Lisa Bennett, Earth Defense Force. We're here to take you home. Susan smiled with tears in her eyes. I knew you'd come. As the rescue team led the freed prisoners to their ship, Susan stopped. Wait. Before we go, I need to access their main computer. There's valuable information about the Empire that we need to take back. Lisa nodded and assigned 2 soldiers to guard Susan while she downloaded data from the Arcturian computer system. The information contained detailed maps of the entire Empire, weaknesses in their technology, and locations of other captive species. Back in the main battle, the Arcturian fleet was in chaos. Nearly half their ships had been destroyed or disabled. The human fleet formed a perimeter around the capital planet. Admiral Diane Clark reported to William. Their defenses are crumbling, Commander. Major Bennett has successfully rescued the prisoners and is returning to the fleet. William nodded with satisfaction. Good. Now for the final phase. He opened a channel to the Imperial Palace. Emperor Krastor, this is Fleet Commander Hayes. Your fleet is defeated. Your defenses are down. We demand your unconditional surrender. In the palace, the Emperor stared at William's image on the screen. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Arcturian Empire faced defeat. Perhaps, General Vexdar suggested quietly, we should hear their terms. The imperial palace of the Arcturian Empire had stood for thousands of years. Its tall spires and massive halls were built to impress and intimidate visitors from across the galaxy. Never before had enemies set foot inside these sacred walls. Yet today, humans walked through its corridors. Fleet Commander William Hayes and Dr. Susan White, along with Admiral Diane Clark and Lieutenant Alan Rogers, were escorted by Major Lisa Bennett and her team to the Emperor's throne room. William had insisted that Susan join them for the negotiations. "You earned this," he had told her. "You kept our people alive and gathered the intelligence that made this victory possible." Emperor Krastor waited on his throne, his usual arrogance replaced by cold anger. General Vextar and High Examiner Zexkra stood on either side of him. "You have violated the sovereign territory of the Arcturian Empire," the Emperor said as the humans entered. "This unprovoked attack." "Unprovoked," William interrupted, his voice firm but controlled. "You attacked our diplomatic vessel. You took our people prisoner. You planned to enslave our species. I would say our response was entirely provoked." The Emperor seemed surprised by this directness. No one interrupted an Arcturian emperor. Susan stepped forward. "Your Majesty, your empire has conquered and enslaved countless species across this sector of the galaxy. You believed humans would be just another easy conquest. You were wrong." High Examiner Zexkra studied the humans with newfound respect. "How did you develop such technology?" "Our scans of your planet showed only primitive spaceflight capabilities." Admiral Clark smiled slightly. "We've been watching the stars for centuries. We knew we weren't alone. When the first alien ship crashed on our world in 1947, we began preparing. Every subsequent crash, every signal we intercepted, every piece of technology we could salvage, we studied it all. We built our fleet in secret, hoping for peaceful contact, but preparing for war." William stepped toward the Emperor. "Here are our terms. First, all human prisoners will be released immediately. Second, the Arcturian Empire will recognize Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory, never to be violated. Third, you will provide us with star charts and data on all species in this sector of the galaxy." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "And if we refuse?" William gestured to a nearby view screen, which showed the human fleet surrounding the planet. "We could reduce your homeworld to ash. But that's not our way. Unlike you, we don't destroy those we can negotiate with." General Vextar spoke quietly to the Emperor. "Your Majesty, their weapons can penetrate our most advanced shields. Our fleet is decimated. We have no choice." After a tense moment, the Emperor nodded. "Very well. We accept your terms." As formal documents were prepared, Susan approached High Examiner Zexkra. "You were the only one who realized what humans are capable of. You tried to warn your Emperor." Zexkra's vertical nose slits flared. "You are unlike any species we have encountered. Your adaptability, your creativity, even in captivity, you were studying us, planning." "That's what humans do," Susan replied. "We learn, we adapt, we survive." Later, aboard the Retribution, William and Susan stood at the observation deck, watching as the Arcturian homeworld grew smaller in the distance. The fleet was heading home, mission accomplished. "What happens now?" Susan asked. "We've revealed ourselves to the galaxy. We can't go back to hiding." William nodded. "No, we can't. But thanks to the data you stole, we know there are other species out there suffering under Arcturian rule. Some of them might become allies." Admiral Clark joined them. "The President has already authorized diplomatic missions to 3 other star systems. The Arcturians' former subjects are eager to meet the species that brought down their oppressors." Susan smiled. "So humanity steps onto the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as liberators and defenders," William added. "We've shown the galaxy that Earth is not to be trifled with. The next empire that thinks to attack humans will remember what happened to the Arcturians." As the fleet engaged its faster-than-light drives, bound for Earth, news of humanity's victory spread across the stars. The message was clear. A new power had emerged, one with both the will and the means to defend itself. The Arcturian Empire had been stunned by humanity's fleet, but they were just the first to learn an important lesson about the inhabitants of the small blue planet called Earth. Never underestimate humans.